Y'all.
Hey, what's going on, everybody out there?
Gun control. Very sticky subject. Today, this week, every day, every week, for the past 20 years, maybe?
I think we want to go back a little bit further, not that much. Remember, Combine happened just over 20 years ago.
Yeah. That was a sad moment. Every school shooting is a sad moment in history. But we're going to have two different opinions and talk about this shit. We might both neither have popular opinions about it, but I promise you we'll have different opinions about it. We'll bring two different arguments to the table, and we will listen to each other like men should. On with the show. Oh.
Hey, what's going on, everybody out there? Okay, welcome, everybody. Again, we're going to talk about gun control and how I think we're going in the wrong direction when we talk about disarming the populace or making it more difficult for law-abiding citizens to get their hands on weapons to protect themselves, or for hunting or for recreational use. The issue with this recent shooting and with all mass shootings that have happened in America is not the wrong laws were on the books, or there weren't any laws on the books that could have prevented this. Tragedies like this will happen because evil people commit these evil acts. And it doesn't matter what laws are on the books to prevent evil from happening. Evil will find a way. So the issue isn't to restrict law-abiding citizens from getting their hands on weapons to protect themselves. It's on educating the issue out. It's on changing the mentality of the perpetrators before they commit these heinous acts. It's on getting the value of life instilled in these children. And that's something that I believe that we're lacking in today's society. The value of life isn't taken nearly as seriously. It isn't addressed at home the way it should be, the way it used to be.
I feel that the problem is that we're not looking at the source, the issues at hand, where really this stems from. Gun control isn't the problem, as my partner said. It really isn't the problem. I feel that we need to look at the source, the issue. We need to value life, like he said. Problem is, when you have a set of people that don't value life, a history of not valuing life, a history of demeaning life and ending life in huge numbers throughout history, well, then what do we have to teach them at home? If they have everything, but yet they still feel empty. The problem is that even though there's crime in inner cities, we can't avoid that. There's crime in inner cities. We don't go to schools and commit mass shootings. We do not go to our churches and shoot up the churches in our inner cities. You have never heard of a minority mass shooting committed by a minority shooter. These shootings aren't happening in Harlem, the Bronx, Brooklyn. These shootings aren't happening in Chicago. These shootings aren't happening in Oakland. They're not happening in LA. They're happening in Parkland, Florida. They're happening in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. They're happening in Columbine, Colorado. If you research these shooters, I'm guaranteeing you that you'll find a pattern. A, that they are using American-made weaponry. B, they are but one race. So I know it's not a popular thing to say. Some people are not going to like it. Some people might even say it's racist. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm trying to be honest. Now, we need to look at the source of the issue. The lawmakers, the people that are behind the lawmakers, the people who are committing these acts, and the media who paints two different pictures. So when you come to me and say, oh, there was a mass shooting last night at a school, I'm going to say, what's the white guy's name? When there's crime in inner cities, we put the weight on single Black or Hispanic women in the minority. Say, where are the fathers? They're in the poor, broken, impoverished areas. Where are the fathers? All right. Well, these people are from well-funded, good schools with parents at home. Where are the fathers? Where are these white fathers, these white families? Because they have good schooling. They come from small communities, right? Why aren't we putting the accountability where it belongs? How do these kids learn about guns, or how they feel about guns, how they feel about their classmates? It all starts at home. To me, everything starts from home. How you behave, how you think about things, how you feel. It all starts at home. If you take the reason crime in inner cities is an epidemic right now, like it was in the 80s, is because school shootings are an epidemic. But mass killings in inner cities have never been the top priority of the media, politicians, no one. Because when Obama was in office, Chicago was still running wild and rampant. Rahm Emanuel left the administration, went to become mayor of Chicago, and nothing was still done. He's still there. Nothing's been done. But social media is flooded with this new shooting epidemic, or old shooting epidemic, because people want to pick a side. Why aren't we addressing the real problem?
Well, the real problem is lack of education. And by that, I mean learning just how valuable life is. Learning just how valuable the next human being is to not just his home, but society as a whole. When we stop valuing life because we no longer look at it as sacred, because we no longer look at it as important, we stop caring about consequences.
I don't think that education is taught in school. They say, like this saying, I'd rather be poor and happy than rich and miserable. In one household, you're taught how to save money, how to be a pillar of your community, how to have a conversation. In the other community, you have a household that teaches you how to survive and be family, right? It says 5 kids in each side. One of these kids might become a mass shooter, the other one might become a drug dealer. Who really is doing the most harm out of these 2 kids on these 2 sides of the fence?
Well, let's call a spade a spade. If you're selling illegal drugs, you're dealing with 2 sides of the issue here. You're dealing with the importation of these illicit drugs.
We don't look at the source of the problem. How does this kid get this drugs? How does he get these drugs? Where is the source of these drugs? How did it get through here? How did he get his hands? How does a kid from Baltimore that can't afford to pay for light to read his book can get an ounce of crack cocaine? How?
Okay, I dig where you're going. But again, my issue is we've become desensitized to what life means.
Absolutely. But I don't think it's on both sides of the spectrum, you see. That's the problem. I feel that because there's a history on one side of devaluing life, there's a history of it. A long, long, long history of devaluing life to where a life was worth a few dollars. You're a piece of property at one point to a certain people. You understand? So how do you expect a people to value or teach the value of life when their history has shown that they have no sense of that fact and they do not take accountability nor acknowledge it properly?
Well, that's learned behavior, and just as it was
Generational.
just as it was taught in, it can be taught out. What you need to do
So how
is
do you feel we address that?
we need to take the solution will be ridiculously expensive to the point where no tax-paying citizen is going to want to undertake this endeavor.
Especially since you're basically asking the between guys to pay for it. The guys that some of them value, some of them don't. So how do you think we address this?
Well, this is going to require a lot more money than the average taxpayer is willing to spend. The solution would be to take children from the environment where they currently are, where they're all homogenous, where they all are the same group of people that all have like-minded values. You need to take them from there and bring them into a different environment so that they can understand just how hard life truly is.
Start valuing what they have. And let's say let's just get crazy with it. Let's say like there's research done, right? Somebody says, you know what? Let's just try this shit, right? And you do the research and say, listen, it worked in a few case studies. Bring it to Congress and say, listen, this is going to cost X amount of dollars. It's going to be fucking expensive, bro. Do you feel that we should spend money, which would probably on the upper middle class, I would feel. We should reallocate some kind of monies and it costing us to put it into this kind of a program and re-educating or establishing something where it's worth.
The problem is it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work from a state-funded program. There's no way that the American taxpayer is willing to foot that bill. When you really get down to brass
as well, they should. They shouldn't, because this is a problem that a minority of the country does not have.
This is a problem that the majority of the country does not have. These mass shootings that the media likes to talk about do not happen.
Not happen. Good.
Do not happen.
All right, there you
go. Do not happen on a weekly or daily basis. The reason why they're so sensationalized is because they happen few and far between.
I think they're more sensationalized because there's children.
Well, let's take a look at all the children's lives that we've lost.
Yeah, a certain type of children. because we don't have this coverage. Like I said, there's mass shootings in crime riddled areas, and plenty of children dying. Plenty of children dying. Plenty of children have died. It is not a problem until it's Susie or Megan or Jean or whatever name you want, whatever landscape you want to name your son. That's when it's a problem. It's always, and this is the history of the United States. The drug epidemic isn't drug epidemic until the wrong people get harmed in it. Because there was already an epidemic in the inner cities. There was already a problem in the cities. And what do? We go after the inner cities as if they're the source of the problem. And 60 years later, 50 years later, there's still a drug epidemic. There was already a war on crime. War on crime. There's no such thing. We all know it's rhetorical. And these older, even younger lawmakers, they come in and they try to sway us and say, listen, we need to nip this in the butt. Crime has to end. We need to build up a wall. Is that what all the real crime's coming from? Is that where the real estate bubble came from? Now, one of those guys, maybe one or two arrests at most in the real estate bubble. But yet, our cities, our prisons are jam-packed with one type of person, two types of people, jam-packed, overpopulated, corporately owned. Yet, mass shootings. Bro, why would I care about some kid that probably will inherit more money than I have made as an adult, right? Why would I care about some kid getting shown the value of life, right? After him being awarded through systems a better chance of making it than me as a grown man. Well, I know I have to scrap and fight to feed my family. You understand? Pay a rent that I can't afford. Where I have to choose. Or me and my wife have to choose for one or the other to stay home because we can't afford help. We can't afford to send our youngest child to school. Whereas you have the other side of the fence, they go to these great schools, they do these great things, and then they go and shoot their school up. Because they just don't get it.
Okay, well, going back to your first point, why I would feel it necessary to have that child learn to value life is so that he doesn't accidentally take yours or your children's. That's number one. It's a question of morality at that point. So I would want.
I'm more scared of, and that's the thing. I'm more scared of a young man, a young white man, and this is something that isn't being said. I'm more scared of a young white man in a Old Navy collared shirt walking down my block than I am of a young black man in a hoodie. All right?
Well, that's rather remarkable because statistics will tell you that you're more likely to die from that young minority in a hoodie who happens to be walking down your block in your neighborhood.
And statistics is the mother of all lies. That young black man in a hoodie, I know he's probably going to the store. This young white kid in the polo, his parents probably are shopping to buy buildings in my house, my neighborhood, right? So they can raise the rent and make money. It's not raising rent to get me out. They're raising rent. They're trying to make profit, right? This is why you get into business. You get into business to make profit. That's the plain truth about it. So when you go into 116th, 110th, and you see a white kid and walk into one of these buildings that once upon a time was a abandoned building, What you're thinking is, oh, there they go. They're going to buy these properties up and they're going to move us out. I'm worried about them. I'm more worried about them because once that rent goes up higher and higher, which it does, how am I going to afford that rent? Listen, if a guy comes to me, sticks me up, I came from the game. It's part of the game. You give your shit, you're lucky to walk out of there alive. You know what? You got it. Here you go. It's my debit card, my cell phone. It's not worth my life because I know the value of my life. He knows the value of my life. That's why he has that gun pointed at me. He knows what I'm willing to give up to save mine, the life of mine and my children and my wife. He understands that. A lowly, hooded individual knows that. Why does this kid in the polo shirt not get that? Why does he go and massacre all these people's kids and never had a chance to live?
Well, that's just a lack of education. It's a lack of morality, and that's something that
I agree with the morality part.
That needs to be brought to them. That needs to flourish in their community. It needs to, and if you can't, well, you can't legislate morality, right? We tried that with prohibition. We've tried that with the war on drugs.
And mind you, from a perfect experience, I'm going to tell you right now, I was sitting one time with a childhood friend of mine. I was raised on 132 Linux. But one time I decided to go by there and I saw him and he was standing in the corner. It was around 1 a.m. Standing on the corner. I know some people that sound scary. When you come from these neighborhoods, it ain't that scary. It's part of life. I know on TV it depicts this, oh my God, there's a guy in the corner. No. Someone's like, hey. Like, oh! We're talking, having a conversation, engaging, 1 a.m. Right? Along comes past a young white male, maybe 14 years old, 1 a.m., 1:30 on Linux in Harlem, on a skateboard. We stopped talking, and all eyes were on this little boy. What does that tell you?
Well, that's just a product of gentrification.
But yes, from the outside world. But in actuality, we're thinking, what the fuck is he doing there? That's what we're thinking. Think, what the fuck is he doing there? He goes to me, he's like, yo, I know it's crazy. I'm like, yo, what is this?
Again, that's just a product of gentrification.
So
It's happening all over New York City. It's happening all over San Francisco. It's happening all over.
But like I'm saying, I'm more scared of that kid and what could happen. That's what we were scared of. We thought about it for a second. If we standing here joking and laughing, exchanging old stories, if we scare that kid just by standing there, what's going to happen to us? We're grown men. That's how we think. It's not when young, you don't think. We're grown men. That's what we're thinking about. You see, the big picture is gentrification. We're talking about the everyday real thinking. This is where my problem with the media is, they paint this huge picture and they say, all right, you guys got to pick a side, man. You either with these guys that provide you money or provide you with funds and say no guns, or these guys say, do it on your own. And we deserve to keep our guns. This is what the media has put forth for us. And we're literally saying, okay, let me walk over one side and pick one. And I think that's wrong. I think we need to step out the box and pay attention to the whole thing, including what's out there in the media, and say, all right, what's the real problem? We're so quick to agree. You're right. If he wouldn't have had a gun, this wouldn't have happened. Are you saying that if the team scored more points, they probably won?
Well, it's interesting you say that if you eliminate guns, then you eliminate mass murder. There was recently
that's just pure science. I mean, pure math. Yeah, if you eliminate guns,
but that's not
you
true.
eliminate gun violence. Yes,
gun violence.
Do. Absolutely.
But you're not going to.
But you're not going to eliminate crime. You're not going to eliminate guns.
You're not going to eliminate murder.
Whereas
on a large scale, either.
Where you fear guns, that fear will be replaced. That fear will be replaced by something else. The media will make sure of that.
Well, the media is purposely derisive so that they can sell copy, so that they can sell print.
They
So
have
they
to
can
make
keep
money.
eyes. Of course, it's
They
a
have to stay
business.
afloat.
But going back to the root issue, that is ignorance. That is the general populace's ignorance to what's going on. When you can sensationalize anything, right? When you can take a complex issue and boil it down to a couple of sound bites and a 15-second rant by a politician from Kentucky, then yeah, you're going to capture eyeballs.
You know what my solution is? I thought about this long and hard. My solution, my personal solution, is that people of color, they mind their goddamn business. People of color, right? I know this sounds crazy. I know it's not going to be a popular idea. That's not meant to be one. My proposal is shut up, let them do what they do, unify, buy businesses, buy property, stop asking for the hookup, support your local shops, your local, keep the money in the neighborhood, worry about your own, empower each other, rewire your thinking, your own thinking. This is to me, this is a generational problem. We don't have that problem. It's not instilled in us. We don't do that. We need to worry about our own. They're not coming to our school shooting it up, so let them shoot each other up. It's the same way they feel about our inner cities. Let's fix our own thing. Let's get these young men jobs. Let them feel empowered. Re-educate our own. Let them see what we're doing so we become dangerous all of a sudden. Because that's how I feel. They would see that and say, wow, it's becoming dangerous. Because the majority of power can shift that way. And that's historically what was the problem. So why don't we worry about each other instead?
Because you have leaders in the black community that are just as derisive as the media. Because
that's why we don't need, right now, it would be nice to have a leader, a real leader. It would be nice. What we need to do is just have respect for the other's opinion. And that's where it starts. Respect for the other's property. Respect for the other's space. Respect for each other. That's where it starts. It starts with respect. We respect each other. We worry about each other. People don't want to hear shit like this. But once we do that, it's already shifting. You see it. People are starting to love themselves and learn about themselves. You see it happening. People are dressing themselves differently. 10, 20 years ago was, what up, nigga? What up, bitch? Now people are saying, hey, king, hey, queen. The mentality is starting to change. They blame everything on the millennials, but the millennials are actually changing something here. You understand? And people don't want to embrace that. Nowhere we're not all kings and queens. Absolutely not. We don't all come from queens and queens. Absolutely not. It's not possible. There's not enough kings and queens out there. But you know what? That positive way of reinforcement can start building something stronger. And that's what we need. So when I see a school shooting, people think I'm insensitive to it. I say, another one, right? I'm more worried about the shooting that happened around my block 4 days ago, 5 days ago. I'm worried about the fight that was outside my house 2 days ago. That's what I'm worried about. I don't live in Sandy Hook. I don't live in Columbine. I don't live in Parkland. I live in Harlem. I've been seeing things like this my whole life. I've seen friends and I've seen parents of my friends laid out in blood. That's what I'm worried about. So while the country wants to worry about whether we should ban gun control or not, that's on y'all. How I think about it is, I'm trying to start a business. I want to empower that business, and I want to empower anyone that's in business to do business. I want to empower my own. And we're doing something about it. We're leading. We're being leaders. We're showing respect. We were taught something, and we in turn are teaching something for free. Not charging anyone anything. We're sitting there saying, you know what? Let's pass this. Knowledge is more powerful when it's utilized. If someone can know everything. If they don't use it, where are they going with it? To me, that's the solution. We continue to break barriers. I'm tired of hearing the first this, the first that. That should die. It should be, well, this has been done by us already. We've been doing this. We already know this. Let's continue this. So let's raise a new bar. That's what we need to do. That's how I feel about it. And that's my stance. I think we should worry about each other, about ourselves, worry about your neighbor. It's nice to talk about this type of things, but when we're sitting here picking sides, like, you know what, fuck your side. They'll deal with it. They will make a decision one day. When they realize that when these senators and these NRA reps and these liberals, when they all get old and dying and realize, you know what, I wish I would have did things different, it'll be too late.
Well, we'll see. History will be the judge of us. Let's find out. And on that note,
Yeah.
bid you all good night, folks.